Welcome to another episode of Life and Whiskey. As always, I'm Jordan, and today we're going to look at Wild Turkey 101 Rye. So, best I can tell, it's distilled by Wild Turkey. It does say on here that it's aged longer for more character in new number 4 alligator char barrels. It's 101 proof, so 50.5% ABV. So, most ryes are coming in at that 90 proof, so it's a little bit hotter. Let's see here. What else do we know? This is a liter bottle. So most bottles are 750. So this is a liter. Picked this up for $25.49 here locally. So, the price is fairly low. So at 750. So what is that? 250 lower. So 10. So minus, let's see, it's $2.50 per ounce or per milliliter or per 100 milliliters, so drop 2, 4, 5. So this is coming in at like $20 for a 750. Really can't argue with that for a rye. That is a great price. Hopefully it's pretty good. Now it says aged longer. I have no idea how long it actually is aged, but there is no age statement on the bottle. So for an NAS, it's coming in at least 4 years. What else do we need to know about this? Lynchburg, Kentucky, distilled and bottled by Wild Turkey. There we go. That's all we need to know. Again, we're going to try and open this up on camera here. Make it a challenge. Haven't tried this ever before. Have no idea what we're getting into. So this will be interesting here. As most of you know, if you've been following along on the channel, you all know that I'm a big fan of rye whiskey. I do like the great depth that you can get from it as far as flavor profiles go. My brother, hopefully here for Christmas, will be coming in from Washington, the week after Christmas here. And there's a distillery there I've talked about before that big fan of. I've had several different batches of their whiskey. It's a craft distillery. Sorry, tangent here. Let's see here. I got the bottle still because I liked it so much. So it's John Jacob whiskey, and it's made by Fremont Mischief. Seattle, Washington is where it's from. So hopefully my brother's going to be bringing a bottle of that when he comes. Because I would love to do a review of that for everybody on camera. It's one of my favorite whiskeys. I've probably had 4 or 5 different batches from them. Now, as a craft distillery, it's more difficult to keep consistency. So there's some flavor drift from batch to batch. Personally, I kind of like that, unless you hit, a bad batch, and then it's a little bit rough. But I have not experienced that with John Jacob yet. Other distilleries, I have had some bottles I absolutely loved, and then the next bottle not being anywhere near as good. It's kind of similar to getting like a single barrel, where some barrels are amazing and other barrels are just kind of meh. But the John Jacob, start to finish, I've had nothing but good experiences, but they have been different. Some were more vanilla caramel, some were a little bit drier and oaky. Just a whole bunch of really nice flavors coming out of that. And I want to say their mash bill's like 95.5. So like 95% rye and either 5% malted barley, or it's 5% malted rye. I don't remember. I'm sure it would say on the bottle, but we'll worry about that when we actually get to the review. But yeah, that's one of my favorite ryes, and that's what keeps me going down the rye path. So let's see what Wild Turkey 101 has to offer as far as a rye. So again, 101 proof, 50.5% ABV. I don't think it says anything about the mash bill on here. No, it doesn't say anything about the mash bill on here. I probably could look it up, but that's something for you guys to do when you're bored sometimes. So, again, $25.49 for a liter. let's see what's in this glass. Okay, so right away, the first very distinguished thing is what is missing. 101 proof in the glass. There is no ethanol at all coming out of this glass. And in fact, it is very tamped down as far as nose notes all the way around. I'm struggling to get much of anything out of this. Maybe we'll warm it up here. Swirl around a little bit. I did get a little bit of a floral impact, but not a whole lot. Almost like an apple in there. I mean, this is very Sazerac Buffalo Trace to start with, but now as it's warming up and swishing around, it's becoming way more floral, way more MGP, minor case type nose. The ethanol is waking up quite a bit as I warm it up and slosh it around. I did spill a little bit here, so let's try the old trick. So if you ever put a little bit on your hands, rub it together till it's completely evaporated, you'll smell. Boy, I almost get like almost a dill pickle out of that. Boy, that's interesting. I wonder if that's just something crappy on my hands. Because again, other than that, I'm not getting much out of it. So let's see what's in the glass here. Nope, we are sweet brown sugar. Brown sugar and floral. This smells a lot like a bourbon now. Hard candy, like hard cherry candy. I don't know if you remember, when I was a kid, crap, what was the brand name? I could see the picture in my mind, but I cannot tell you what the brand name was. There was candy, like when you go to the grocery store, that they would have literally barrels or buckets of candy that you used to like weigh out how much candy, and it was, you know, by the weight, and it didn't matter what the variety was. And it was at Brock's. Brock's made the caramels, I think, that they were like pink and blue squares behind the letters on the label. I think it was Brock's, something like that. But there was also these round, hard cherry, like fake cherry flavored hard candies. They were in ball form, and they're about this big around. And that smell is what I'm smelling in here as a hard candy, like a hard candy cherry mixed with a floral note, just a little bit of eucalyptus in there, really deep in there, and a little bit of almost a wicker and a grain. There's actually quite a bit in there now that it's warmed up. And I think that might be the trick with this higher proof here, getting it to wake up a little bit. But it is very familiar again. It's very MGP notes that are dominating. So, and when I say MGP, that's just because that's most of the rye whiskey out there that people are familiar with as far as a flavor profile goes. You're going to get floral, black licorice, eucalyptus, and hard candy in there. You kind of get that sugary sweetness in there. Like those are the notes that most people have come to associate with rye whiskey, and it's true that the majority of rye whiskey out there does have that signature nose and taste profile, and that's because MGP products are the majority of the ryes that are out there. So chances are, if you're just randomly grabbing a bottle, especially something in the $30, $40 price range, you're probably getting an MGP product under a different brand name. So it's just something that most people are familiar with. But that's not by any means all that's out there. There's a lot of rye out there to choose from. But that's where we're at. A lot of brown sugar, a little bit of honey in there too. Okay, on the taste, here we go. Once again, wow. The ethanol ding did not show up until the very tail end. It was very watery, thin, extremely hard candy, cherry hard candy, brown sugar sweet for the first part of the palate into the mid palate, and then all of a sudden you get this heavy rye spice ding mixed with a distinct ethanol ding. The ethanol, by and large, did not show up until almost pushing into the finish. The finish came out with a very nice rye grain, a little bit of sweetness in there, and just the slightest bit of barrel char, a little bit of oak tannin in there. Not a whole lot. The very beginning part was very thin, though, very watery thin. The mouthfeel was syrupy, but the flavor profile was watery thin, just a sweetness that kind of came through until that ethanol, or sorry, until the rye spice kicked in and the rye grain kicked in. That's interesting. At 100 proof, you'd expect a little bit more heft in the ethanol ding department. Also in the flavor profile. Let's see if on the second go, maybe some of those the flavor profile moves a little bit more forward and fills in some of that watery thinness. The nose hasn't changed much. Still pretty much that floral component's dominating with a lot of smaller bits in the very deepest, farthest background there. No ethanol still coming off this nose. There's a little bit of graham cracker in there. It's coming off very bourbon-esque. And if you watch my Jack Daniels video that I just got done shooting, Jack Daniels Rye, I said that a lot of bourbon manufacturers make a rye that is more close to a bourbon. So technically, to be considered a rye whiskey, TTB regulates that it must be at least 51% rye grain. So as such, a lot of bourbon manufacturers, so let me back up just a minute, like bourbon needs to be at least 51% corn. So a lot of bourbon manufacturers are taking literally 51, maybe as high as 60% rye, filling in with like maybe 30% corn and then a little bit of barley, malted barley. So you're getting a mash bill that is similar or representative of more of what a bourbon would be without meeting the exact specifications of a bourbon. So you get a lot of those flavor profiles. Now, I do not know what the mash bill is on this rye, but it tastes more along those lines. Again, has not changed in the nose. Let's go back for another sip. Okay, on that sip, the rye spice moved to the front of the palate. It was rye spice and rye grain, like dusty grain bin. And then those were the first things that hit, but then immediately went into a nice, sweet brown sugar, almost a caramel. But that spice kind of stayed through. It became almost a black pepper mixed with that caramel. Then that as you moved into the middle to the end of the mid palate, you went into the ethanol ding. And then it finished with a really nice, creamy caramel, a little bit of wood char in there, and just a touch of rye spice underlaying the whole thing. Very, very pleasant. I like this a lot. Not only is it cheap, well priced, economical to buy, but it's a really nice whiskey with a little bit more ethanol in there than you'd get out of a lot of others. Oh yeah, that time it went all sweet caramel, vanilla, then into brown sugar, rye, a little bit of floral still in there. Give some black pepper on the finish, and then a nice sweet to go with that. Okay, really liking this one. Again, the notes are familiar. The notes are similar to a lot of other rye whiskeys. There's a depth of flavor in there that you don't get out of a lot of other ones. That the little bit of extra proof that you're getting is bringing a little bit more with it, but it's nothing unfamiliar. So if you're looking for a nice rye, go ahead and pick up a bottle of this. I highly recommend it. Priced well, very affordable. Not something that you'd be ashamed to go and mix with something if you wanted. And the proof will stand up to a cocktail for sure. So there you go. Here locally, $25.49. Loving that, and that's for a 1 liter bottle. Drop in the comments down below what you can find a bottle of Wild Turkey Rye 101 or straight Rye 101 for in your area. Also, let me know what you have as far as an experience with Wild Turkey Rye. Love to hear what you have to say. I'm a fan. I'm liking this quite a bit. Probably going to be maybe one of my daily drinkers there. It's rare that I mix up a cocktail these days. Almost everything I drink is sorry, static electricity is clinging the topper to my hand here. It's rare that I mix up a cocktail. I mostly drink all of my whiskey neat these days. I really enjoy picking them apart in the experience, the flavors that come with it, and it doesn't really matter what variety it is. Even rye, that peated Irish I had Connemara the other day, that was excellent. Bourbon, or my Islay scotches, or any other scotches for that matter. I just really enjoy the ride you go on when you go down the whiskey road there to see where it takes you. So drop in the comments down below what your experience is. I'd love to hear about it. If you haven't already, please check out Life and Whiskey on Rumble, BitchUte, Minds, YouTube, wherever you're getting this from. If you're getting good information out of this content, please share that with other people, as I do not have any other social media presence in order to share it out myself. As always, I do greatly appreciate it. Hopefully you're getting some out of this. Merry Christmas. I have no idea when this is going to drop, but it's December 18th right now, so we're coming into the Christmas season, so Merry Christmas to everybody. It'll be funny if this drops in July or something like that. But hope you guys are having a great end of the year here, and thanks for watching. You guys have yourselves a great day. We'll catch you in the next video.